Now, the Supreme Court will not let off Patanjali Ayurved, Balakrishna and Ramdev easy. The grave crime that Balakrishna and Ramdev have committed must have drastic consequences. Patanjali Ayurved must pay a heavy price for the fraud that they have committed. Lying, deceiving, spreading falsehoods, disinformation, misleading the innocent public to fill their coffers at the cost of the health and the lives of the people. The apex court will punish the criminals, but the tough battle starts here on. There must be millions who must have consumed Patanjali products, assuming they will cure them. How many of these people had their health worsened because of the quackery of Patanjali? Worse still, how many of these patients ended up dying consuming Patanjali products which were masquerading as medicines that cured diseases? Who will count the number of such aggrieved consumers? How will one be able to collate the data of the number of people who died or whose health worsened because of what Ramdev falsely promised them? Let's start our conversation. On the telecast with me, I have eminent doctors and I have lawyers who are going to try to find a solution to this problem that is just about started. Because one thing is about the Supreme Court reprimanding Patanjali Ayurved and its founder and co-founder. Another thing entirely to be able to find the number of people who have lost their family members or whose health has deteriorated, worsened because they have consumed Patanjali products. There must be thousands of them. There must be millions of them. But how do we take the first step? Is it as easy to go to the courts and demand for reprieve, demand that action be taken against Patanjali? What are the legalities? What are technicalities? What are the difficulties in doing so? All right, joining me on the telecast, quickly getting in, I have with me Padma Shri Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Sir, your response with regards to this, we might just be, and definitely Patanjali Ayurved and Balakrishna and Ramdev were taking it as a joke, because when the first hearing happened and the Supreme Court demanded that an affidavit be filed by them, they weren't even present in the courts. And the excuse that they gave was that they were unavailable, they had other things to do. And that angered the Supreme Court. The fact that the journey that they have taken from being completely callous, assuming nothing is going to be able to touch them, that they are the gods and they may do whatever they feel like without any consequences, to the position that they now hold, there are unconditional apologies that are pouring in. Ramdev and Balakrishna are brought to court every day, every single hearing they are present. And befittingly, the Supreme Court has wrapped them. The Supreme Court is not going to let them easy. But what happens afterwards? That's the tough battle, because how many people actually suffered, how many people died, it's going to be difficult to collate this data.
Good evening everyone. So I think Patanjali as a company has actually dug itself into a very dark hole. And I don't see any exit route out for them. If you go through the history of this company, most of the ads, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Most of the ads and the information either on video, right through the promoters and other people, have been totally fraudulent, deceptive misinformation. Now, I'll make two very, very quick points. When you are misleading willfully a large section of consumers to consume a product which is not going to be beneficial, then what really happens in chronic ailments, especially in chronic kidney disease, chronic liver disease, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, cancers mainly, the patient tends to stop the routine ongoing medication. We respect as our line of medicine all fields of science, but we don't want to decry any other one. So what these people have done is they ran down the allopathic field. They criticized the vaccine campaign. They criticized the medication. They promoted their fictitious oil to be put in the nostrils during the COVID period, and so on and so forth. So it's not only misinformation or anti-vax campaign or anti-scientific, but it misled patients to stop the routine medication. Your window period in chronic ailments is very narrow between just being stable towards rapid deterioration. If you go through the history of the pharma companies, be it Merck, be it GlaxoSmithKline, Sun Pharma, Abbott, Glaxo J&J recently, GlaxoSmithKline has been fined 10 billion USD, 10 billion USD. What I think is if the lawsuits pile up, which I think they will, and I want the government to form a call center kind of to aggregate the complaints, because individual people will find it very difficult to find lawyers and and to fight expensive lawsuits. I think this country may actually go bankrupt.
Okay.
It's a case example. This is a learning lesson for all pharma and multinational companies. Sell your product, sell it with dignity, sell it scientifically, no false information, don't decry others. Over to you.
Shri Ram Kanna, he is the managing editor. He is a consumer affairs expert. Now, again, as Dr. Bagai was saying, it's better if the government were to form a consortium, a panel that would allow for finding the number of people and fighting their case against Baba Ramdev and against Balakrishna and Patanjali Ayurved. How difficult does it become for individuals to file a case, file lawsuits against a conglomerate as big as Patanjali and get justice in turn?
I would like to point out to you that there was a problem with Maggie some years ago, and individual consumers had the same difficulty. So what happened was that the Ministry of Consumer Affairs filed a case at the National Commission under the Consumer Law against Hindustan Unilever. And last month or early this month, the case was dismissed. Why was it dismissed after so many years of litigation? Because there was no evidence. So you may say that people can file cases against Patanjali or any other company, but before you go to a court of law, you have to prove some injury. You have to get evidence that you did something which those ads claimed we should do. You used their medicine and your health was damaged, and you must have medical evidence, a record, to prove that that thing happened. I must say it is extremely difficult to even provide evidence, even in cases of medical negligence, leave alone damage to your health by using medicines which have a negative impact or claims which are not true. So I would like to say that at this stage, if the Supreme Court was to give a detailed order on when a misleading advertisement can be proceeded against for compensation by consumers, that will be adequate. Because once there is a Supreme Court judgment, whether you individually punish Patanjali or not is not my concern. आप punish करो, कचेरी को अच्छा लगता है करे, नहीं करता है तो भी एक judgment होना चाहिए जिसमें law lay down हो कि misleading advertisements होंगे or which are not based on science or scientific evidence and they are false. Any loss or injury caused to anybody as a result of those misleading ads will be actionable, and individuals, individually or in groups or in classes, can file cases for compensation. If that happens, I think it will be a good learning and a good institutional development from this case.
Okay.
Because this is not only confined to medicines. IMA का case तो दवाइयों के बारे में है. This happens every day in food items.
Yeah.
It happens in nutritional supplements. कि भी आप ये प्रोटीन खाओगे आपका इतना वेट बनेगा, आपका इतना मसल बन जाएगा, वहाँ भी झूठ बोलते हैं. वहाँ कौन सा scientific evidence है? So misleading ads are applicable to all domains, not only medicines.
Absolutely.
Let's be clear about that.
Thank you. Advocate Ramakant Gaur, here when the Supreme Court wrapped Patanjali, it said we want to set a larger example. And Supreme Court, specifically mentioned about the FMCG industry. And as Sriram Khanna was saying, that there are, examples after examples in our daily lives that people are duped. They watch the advertisement, they read somewhere that this particular pill or this particular powder or this particular cream or lotion or serum is going to do wonders for your skin or your health or your weight loss or your hair loss problems. But the opposite is true of it. So, can there be an overarching law that now can be a judgment that can be made by the Supreme Court that could be a landmark, that could be a turning point for cases in the future, the lawsuits that are filed in the future against such companies, against such FMCGs, to set up an example and say in 2024, in the Supreme Court Patanjali case, this was the verdict, and we are going to take it as a benchmark to move forward for more of such judgments that are likely to be passed in the future.
Meghaji, there are very few judges. In this particular case, the matter went up to Supreme Court and the court is taking cognizance. But the focus is not only on Patanjali, but on FMCG sectors as well, as we heard. But the most unfortunate part herein is that more than 10,000 FMCG products are in the market. And according to a report by the research associates of AIMS, suggests there are 68% of the products which lacks the scientific evidence and which are not up to the standards or the mark of WHO. So if this is the situation noted by AIMS, which court can do anything? It is again, it would fall onto the shoulders of the executives. There is a specific drug department in the country. We have central agencies, we have state drug officers, and in every district we have the drug inspectors. But are they really working onto the, or they are overseeing what their job is meant to be? The answer is emphatic no. That's the bigger problem. See, the Supreme Court may say one thing today. They may punish Patanjali. Patanjali may be prohibited for publicizing their ads in this fashion, which are misleading. But what would happen? As Professor Ramkhanna has specifically pointed it out, kids are being referred to whey proteins, protein bars. Now, what these protein bars are actually supplementing, are they really beneficial? Are they really doing what they are meant for? So, this is the time when the medical fraternity has to come forward. See, it is also the onus of the medical fraternity as well. In this particular case, IMA approached Supreme Court, more particularly because allopathy was maligned, medical doctors were being abused. That's the reason they went up to Supreme Court. Here, the onus is bigger than this.
Yeah.
Here, public is befooled. Public is being befooled, and some companies are making misleading advertisements, and therefore, public is their health hazards are rampant, and nobody is taking any action.
But Advocate Gaur, there are a number of products, and perhaps almost all of them would advertise about a number of things which they may not actually fulfill.
True.
But at the same time, you will also see the fine print where it is categorically mentioned that this product may vary in its results person to person or individual to individual. Now, what are these rules and regulations that these FMCGs have to follow? And is fine print enough? Are there changes that they need to make in the kind of publications that they do, in the kind of advertising that they do of their products? Because while the product screams of promising everything under the sun, the fine print is in contrast, giving you a number of conditions and ifs and buts for the product to work on you.
Meghaji, you nailed the issue. The basic thing is that we, as a general public, are swayed by the assertion made in the advertisement or anything which is appearing in the advertising form on the media. But what are the realities? What are the ground realities? Are doctors actually prescribing them? Answer is no. So people have to be educated about this as well. See, it is the situation which requires the participation from all of us, from media, from doctors, from lawyers, from all the intellectuals, that see people, if this situation is prevalent and it keeps on continuing, then our health situations in the country may deteriorate to the grave extent.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Anil Bansal is the former Joint Secretary of the Indian Medical Association on the telecast with me. So, Dr. Bansal, we are moving a step ahead. After the Supreme Court has taken cognizance of the crime that has been committed and the perjury that has been committed by Patanjali and the bad reputation that the IMA and allopathy has gotten, I move a step forward and talk about the bigger plight of the people. One thing is about Patanjali, Baba Ramdev, this Balakrishna guy actually spreading false rumors about allopathy. But it's quite another when people are dying and their health is suffering simply because they've stopped taking other medicines because they have been fooled by Patanjali, by the claims that they make, and then ended up getting more sick.
Very true. In India, after independence, Drug Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisement Act 1954 was passed by the Parliament. According to this law, this rule, which is a mandatory rule, anybody who is claiming false is that I will completely cure you of this disease. There were 17 diseases listed in this law, which includes diabetes, hypertension, thyroid, arthritis, and all illnesses. If somebody is giving a wrong claim or saying we can cure it completely, it is a false thing and government should take action. We as a IMA are fighting for these issues since last 60 years. I as a joint secretary contacted the drug controller time and again and telling that you should take action against this person. This is not only the Ramdev. You can see Mr. Rishikesh mein R.K. Gupta was doing the same thing. Similarly, Govinda was doing the same thing. In an ad in the night, he was saying that this tail oil can cure the arthritis completely, and the bottle cost was 15,000 rupees per bottle. So from time to time, people who are very big one, who have more political power, who are very rich, they are not thinking law is there or not, and they are violating this law. Even Baba Ramdev has done the same thing. He was not afraid of these things. He was saying, I am super more than the government. You see, the controller department, we have been asking them again and again. They were asking us to give us the proof. When you have made a rule, why the people are violating the rules? But for the rules were made, why only the Supreme Court will take action? Why not the local courts? Why High Court did not take action? Why the local government did not take action? Why the health department is not taking any action? This is a landmark judgment which has shown that the bureaucrats, politicians, and everybody is in hand in glove, and they are violating all the rules made by the parliament. The most important thing is that we should implement whatever the rules have been made by them. If it is not good, then they should change it. But here in this case, more than 70 diseases, nobody can claim. And Ramdev was openly claiming even after the court order. So this is a very welcome judgment by the Supreme Court, and we should follow the rule made by the government in 1954.
Okay. Dr. Bagai, you know, those visuals are playing on my screens, and let's replay them of Ramdev when he's entering the courts or leaving the courts. You know, the man does not have a shadow of guilt on his face because he goes about smiling to the people. There is media all around. There are a large number of people watching this spectacle. He's waving at them. He's smiling at them as if, I mean, he's acting like the arrogant prick that he is. And it seems as if the Supreme Court coming down on him doesn't really matter. It seems as if as if whatever verdict may come is not perhaps going to impact him or not going to impact Patanjali. In such a scenario, how do we handle these quacks and crooks?
Yeah, so two parts to your question. One is prima facie. I think everyone knows that all the mighty and the giants even have fallen in front of the court. No one can disobey the law of the country, however great they may think fictitiously they are. I will give you three examples. One is the largest industry which has misled people to think that it's doing them a world of good is the multivitamin industry. By 2022, that's just a year back, the global industry was 50 billion US dollars. The second is the fairness cream industry. The third is the hair loss industry. So what really happens is that you are convincing innocent, susceptible public and population at large to believe that these things are going to work. But I think the law is supreme. This should be a case example. This should be an exemplary example set out for all multinationals that whatever you sell, it has to be appropriate. But more importantly, I think the shows which we are doing here with you and in other channels are going to reach out to millions of people. I think a public awareness campaign is vital so that people don't get misinformation or get misleading into wrong lines of treatment or stopping the correct treatment. And I think IMA has done a stellar job. It's very difficult to take on a large multinational, but I think they've done it and they're doing it successfully. And I also want to thank the Supreme Court for taking a stand, which is on the truth. This is on honesty. But I want the government now to set up a body so that the claims can come in. Claims should be screened. Wrong claims should not get compensation. There should be a protocol in place in which people who genuinely suffered should get compensation. My own feeling is the way it is going, Patanjali may sink.
Okay. Ramkhanna, the same situation that has been playing out every single time Ramdev has been, called up in the courts, in the Supreme Court. The fact that he doesn't seem perturbed, he doesn't seem really bothered about what happens in the case and whatever reprimand that comes his way and the judgment that is announced by the apex court. It seems as if he's reasonably confident that his fan following will follow him despite any order that is announced, that is brought forth, the verdict that is announced against him or Patanjali.
I think the answer lies somewhere else. It appears that the gentleman who is before the Supreme Court is confident about his relationship with the ruling party in the center and in Uttarakhand. And in both these jurisdictions, at the center, the drug controller has taken no action against the ads, in spite of people like doctors and others drawing their attention to what is happening. And in Uttarakhand, the drug controller has not taken any action. ये क्यों है? क्योंकि इंस्पेक्टर्स को भी पता है that if we take action today, tomorrow our bosses will tell us to stop the action or withdraw the cases. And even if they file cases, what will happen?
Okay.
Few lakh of rupees.
Absolutely.
2 lakh of rupees fine.
Absolutely right.
Nobody's going to go to jail.
Advocate Gaur, quickly, 15-20 seconds before I wrap this up. So while we keep harping upon Patanjali and its founders taking the rap, what about the governments? What about these authorities? Now, if you're going to just sack an official who's sitting over there, who has some inspector who has not taken any action, is this reflective then of acting as a deterrent for authorities, for the government bodies to act correctly, to get their act together? Will that be enough?
Whether it is state authority or it is central authority, they have failed to enforce the law in a pragmatic manner. The prosecutions are not being filed properly. I personally have seen various cases where prosecution complaint or the procedure resorted by these drug inspector is flawed. Every single case has some or another flaws in the primary stage. And that's the reason these big FMCG companies or drug manufacturing companies are going scot-free. What to talk of Ramdev? Ramdev may be a bigger or influential person having some contacts in the government, but the basic failure is at the base level where no action is being taken against the violators who are flouting the law
Yeah.
quite now and then.
Dr. Bansal, quickly, 30 seconds. So now, why aren't the governments coming into this coming under this scanner? And I'll again, mention that during COVID, Ramdev was sharing the stage with the Union Transport Minister, with the then Union Health Minister, and he was openly claiming falsehoods, saying that the World Health Organization has certified coronil. And just a day later, the World Health Organization comes out with a statement that there is no such certification that is given, and no action is taken by the government even then.
You have shown that the politicians and the bureaucrats, they were hand in glove and they did not take any action. Even health minister and one of the ministers came to the stage supporting the claim of Ramdev and his firm. We have been fighting against not only the Ramdev, and even other people also. Our law implementing agency is afraid of implementing its own laws. Just now, Shriram Khanna said that if we started a case, this case takes around 10 to 15 years. That person or officer is involved in that case for 10 to 15 years minimum. In the meantime, they may be transferred, they may die. I had filed myself number of cases, and now after retirement of 10 years, I am getting the summon from the court to give the proofs. So it is a very lengthy and poor management by the government and the court. They should be taking strong action, and this is a nice idea that the biggest industrialist of our country, Ramdev, has been warned to give strong action by the Supreme Court.
Right.
Similar thing should be done with other people.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm completely out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, sharing your views, and we'll keep hammering home the point as many times as it's necessary to make people more aware, to unravel the scam that Ramdev has been spinning for the longest time ever. Hope this telecast has helped in reaching out to more people. Thanks for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.